Hello, mighty companion. This is Earl Purdy, and I'm here to do hardcore Course in Miracles. Welcome to A Course in Miracles. And we're going to be talking about how many teachers of love, how many teachers of the Creator are needed to save the world. How many teachers are needed to save the world? How many demonstrators of the truth? How many demonstrators of love are needed to save this world? We're going to talk about what the Course in Miracles says about that. So, this is Earl Purdy. Thank you for tuning into Facebook Live. We're going to start out with a tune to get us centered. That's one of the Course in Miracles lessons, which is Teach Only Love, for that is what you are. Brother John Christmas at www.johnchristmas.com. Here we go. Let yourself get centered. Give yourself a chance to just relax and let yourself hear the Course in Miracles.
Teach only love, for that is what you are. Only love, yes, that is what you are. Teach only love, that is what you are. Teach only love, everywhere you go. Teach only love, to everyone you know. Teach only love, love is what you are. Hey, yeah, let me recognize the problem so the problem can be solved. Let me recognize the problem so the problem can be solved. Teach only love, each and every day. Teach only love, in your own special way. Teach only love, and love is what you are.
So good to talk to you. So good to be with you. I'm so happy to be with people who want to hear the truth and learn A Course in Miracles and go and take advantage of my over 40 years of teaching and learning A Course in Miracles. It will bring some of the most incredible experiences you could imagine into your life. Teach only love.
Yeah, you're a shining star. Only love, love is what you are. Let me recognize the problem so the problem can be solved. Let me recognize the problem so the problem can be solved. Teach only love, each and every day. Only love, in each and every way. Teach only love, love is what you are. Shoo-na-na-na, love is what you are. Hey, shoo-na-na-na, love is what you are. Shoo-na-na-na, love is what you are. Let me recognize the problem so the problem can be solved. Teach only love. Teach only love. Yeah, yeah. Teach only love, for that is what you are. Oh, you are. Oh, love is what you are. Yeah, love is what you are.
Love is what you are.
Yeah, love is what you are.
Love is what you are. Love is what you are. Love is what you are. Love is what you are. Whether you recognize love is what you are or not, love is what you are. It's so good to be with you, hardcore Course in Miracles students. Those of you who are into the course and want to take advantage of my 4 decades plus of teaching and working with the Course in Miracles to make your journey through it. I welcome anyone to watch or listen, but hardcore Course in Miracles is especially for people who are reading and studying and want to go deeper into the Course in Miracles. And I'm Earl Purdy here on Facebook Live, and I'm really glad to be here with you. I'm in the Blue Book, the Foundation for Inner Peace version of A Course in Miracles, this one. And we're in the Manual for Teachers, Section 12, How many teachers of God are needed to save the world? How many demonstrators of love, how many truth students and teachers are needed to save this false perception, to save this world that has so much fear and separation in it in our perception? How many? Well, we're going to be on page 31 in the Manual for Teachers. The Course in Miracles has 3 parts to it, all in the same book. You have the text, which is the whole theory of the course. You have the workbook in here, and it gives you the daily exercises to use to give practical application to A Course in Miracles in our everyday life. And then we have the Manual for Teachers, which clarifies a lot of the terminology that the Course in Miracles uses. That's why I recommend, actually, if a person is just getting involved with the Course in Miracles, I always recommend that they actually read the teacher's manual first, because it would make it easier for you to read the text. So what are the guidelines? What are the guidelines? What are the rules? Well, the Course in Miracles says you need to remember that you don't have to believe the ideas. You don't have to accept these ideas. You don't have to welcome these ideas. Some of these ideas that I share with you, you may find yourself actively resisting. Some of the ideas from A Course in Miracles you will find hard to believe. Some of it's going to be hard to believe. Some of the ideas in the Course in Miracles are going to be quite startling because they're so different. What is the one thing that you are not asked to do? You are not asked to judge and analyze the ideas. If you want to know that these ideas are true, their use will give the ideas in A Course in Miracles meaning to you. Using these ideas will give these ideas meaning to you. Did I say using the ideas will give the ideas meaning to you? That's exactly what I said. The ideas, these thoughts, these ideas in A Course in Miracles, these ideas will show you that the ideas are true. So how many teachers of love? God is just another word for love. Love is just another word for God. How many teachers of God? What the Course in Miracles says, a teacher is a demonstrator. So what it's basically saying is, how many demonstrators of love are needed to save the world? The answer is just one. Just one teacher, one true demonstrator. That's what's needed. Let me share something with you to help you out with you actually trying to read or study the Course. The Course in Miracles is written as if a person does not understand what it's talking about, which means that it explains itself and gives you the meanings of everything it's saying as it says it. You are not required, the Course in Miracles actually is not asking you to read it and then you interpret what it means. That's not the way you get the Course in Miracles. That's what makes the Course in Miracles so hard for people. It's because they try to fit the Course in Miracles into their own learnings. They try to fit the Course in Miracles into their past, their understanding. Let me give you an example. It says, how many teachers of God are needed to save the world? Then it says, well, the answer to this question is one. One, what kind of teacher? Well, a holy, perfect teacher. All it would take to save this world is one totally perfect demonstrator. So how would you define a totally perfect teacher? Notice if you're reading along that it has a comma. It says one holy perfect teacher, comma. Then it says whose learning is complete, suffices. So what is a totally perfect teacher? Somebody who has completed their learning of the Course. Someone who has truly completed their learning. They're learning to forgive. They're learning to love. They're learning to be free. The Course in Miracles says that's a person who's sanctified. That's a person or a teacher who's redeemed. And so how can you tell when a person is redeemed? How can you tell when a person is sanctified? How can you tell when a person is a perfect demonstrator of love, a perfect teacher? Well, at the point that you become a perfect demonstrator of the truth, then what does the last part of that sentence say? Becomes the self who is the Son of God. And the Course defines the Son as the child or the man or the creation of God, the creation of love. So how can you tell when you have really tuned into the part of you that is a true demonstrator of love? How can you tell when you really have gotten your stuff together and you've really done what the Course in Miracles is suggesting? Well, the Course in Miracles now, do you know it's going to describe exactly what an enlightened being is like? Okay, it's going to tell, in other words, you're going to get an explanation of what your true identity is really like. This is the Course in Miracles telling you who and what you really are, not who you think you are. This is the Course in Miracles about to tell you who you really are. What a true demonstrator of love, a true teacher of God is really like. Well, who is that person? He says, he who was always Holy Spirit now no longer sees himself as a body. So when you wake up to who you really are, which is totally spirit, you are a spiritual being. You are spirit. You are awareness. You are mind. You are love. These are all Course in Miracles definitions of spirit. So you are really already totally a spiritual being. That's what you are. So a person that is awake is a person who no longer sees himself as a body. So an awakened being is somebody who no longer sees themselves as a physical body. A person that's awake, a spiritual being that's awake, no longer sees themselves as even in a body. So when you wake up to your true identity, You will not see yourself as just a mortal physical being that dies one day. When you truly wake up to who you really are, you won't even see yourself as even being inside of a body. Now, don't forget, this is the Course in Miracles describing the perfect teacher, somebody who has learned all their lessons. This is probably not the way you see yourself right now. So don't freak out about that. It's just telling you what you really are, but you've forgotten about it and you don't know it. And what happens when you no longer see yourself as a body? What happens when a person no longer sees themselves as even in a body? Well, look at the next line. Therefore, he is limitless. So, would A Course in Miracles definition of an unlimited being be someone who is a spiritual being, of someone who no longer sees themselves as a body, or even as in a body? I like to say it like this: when you really wake up to who you really are, you will no longer see yourself as a gender, as a man or a woman, or any variation on that theme that you want to use. When you really wake up, nothing about your identity will be tied to the physical body at all. So you really wouldn't be seeing yourself as a man or a woman or any of the other various ways that we're describing ourselves nowadays. That when you know you are spirit, when you know you are more than a body, that's when you will be unlimited. So it says, therefore, he is limitless. So what happens when you're limitless? What happens when a person is unlimited? Well, the Course in Miracles says his thoughts are joined with God's forever and ever. So a person or a being that's truly unlimited is a person whose thoughts are joined with the Creator's thoughts. You will be truly unlimited when your thoughts are joined with love. When you have loving thinking, when your thoughts are joined with the thought of God, when your thoughts are joined with the thoughts of the Creator, that's when you become unlimited. So a person who heals their sense of separation from love, from God, from all that is, that's the being that's really unlimited. So what does that tell me? Well, it tells me that the ones you really put, the ones that we don't need but one teacher, one demonstrator who's really learned and remembered who they really are. That's somebody who is really a spirit, and they finally know that they are spirit and that they are more than a body and that they're not even in a body. When a person wakes up to who they really are, when they no longer identify with just being a separate body that lives and dies, then when you come to that level of awareness, you would be unlimited. But what would make you unlimited? What would make you unlimited? What would make you unlimited is that your thoughts are now joined with love, with God. When your thinking is the same as God's thinking, when your thinking is the same as the thinking of truth and love. In my case, I like to look at it as when my thinking is the way that the Course teaches me to think. Then the Course says, then you will be unlimited. So how can you tell when you have become unlimited? How can you tell when you have become the perfect teacher? How can you tell when you're seeing yourself correctly? Well, just keep reading. You never have to figure anything out with the Course. It assumes that you don't know what it's talking about at first. So what is the next line? His perception of himself is based upon God's judgment, not his own. So what does that mean? It means when my thoughts are joined with God, when my mind is joined with my Creator, when I have totally loving thoughts, then that means my perception of myself, the way that I look at myself, is going to be based on what God's judgment is. The way that you look at yourself is going to be based on what love's judgment. Your perception of yourself is going to be based on what the Course in Miracles, for instance, is teaching you about who you are. It says it right here. The person's perception of themselves is based upon love's judgment, not their own. So the Course in Miracles is saying you are totally guiltless and sinless and innocent, that you are spirit and that you are more than a body. And when that becomes your perception of yourself, then you will become unlimited. That's when your thoughts will be joined with God's thoughts forever and forever. Because now you're using the perception of yourself that love is teaching you, that the Course in Miracles is teaching you, rather than using the judgments and perceptions of yourself that the world is giving you, that the ego is giving you, that you are giving you in terms of thinking of yourself as separate or guilty or a body. That means you're not awake yet. Anybody that looks at themselves primarily as being a human being, a physical body, that's a person who has not remembered their true identity yet. And so therefore they're not using the judgment of God, the judgment that's coming from the higher power. A person who thinks of himself as a body and as separate is a person who's using their own judgments based on what they've learned in the past. So when you look at yourself as innocent, when you look at yourself as deserving love, when you truly look at yourself as free, when you really look at yourself as spirit, when you tap into the part of you that knows you are spirit, then you are now having a perception of yourself that corresponds with the perception of yourself that God is giving you through A Course in Miracles. And you're no longer using your judgments of yourself. So therefore, you are now sharing God's will. So how do you share God's will? How do you share the truth? You share it by seeing yourself the way your spiritual teaching is teaching you to see yourself. And if you are seeing the Course in Miracles as your primary path, then you have to start to use the interpretations of everything that the Course in Miracles is giving you. Whatever your spiritual path is, if you're going to be a true student of that spiritual path, you have to stop using your old learnings and programmings you got in the past from the world. And you must start to accept at some level the truth of your spiritual path. So when you are sharing God's will, and what is it that the Course in Miracles says that God's will is? The Course in Miracles says God's will, your Creator's will for you, is complete peace and happiness. What created you wants you to have complete happiness. What created you wants you to have complete love. What created you wants you to have complete abundance. What created you wants you to have perfect happiness. Not punishment, not punishment, not condemnation, not any form of limitation. Love created you, and love wants you to be completely happy. And so when you share God's will, then you are going to bring God's thoughts to still deluded minds. Do you know the Course in Miracles says that basically people who think their bodies and think they're separate and think they're guilty are people who have deluded minds. And so by you joining your mind with the mind of love, joining your mind and your thinking with God's thinking, you bring quietness and peace to fearful minds. So if you are an exemplar of being in total spirit, and you are actually someone who's looking at yourself as innocent and powerful and responsible and free and connected and joined, then your will is now joined with the will of God, and your thoughts can quiet the minds of people who are afraid and deluded. So that means then you are finally going to be what? You're going to be one forever. You are forever one. We are forever joined. You and I are forever joined. That's why we have to get our act together, because there's just one of us here expressing in a lot of different ways. And we'll always be together in some form or another, because there isn't anything or anybody else. There's just one self that's expressing itself in multitudinous ways. So you're really looking at an aspect of yourself talking to you. I am an aspect of your own mind. I am an aspect of you communicating with you. And it is you talking to you. It's you teaching you. I am you. You are me. We're all connected. We've forgotten that. We think we're separate people. We've forgotten that we're totally spirit. We've forgotten that we're more than physical bodies. And so therefore we are not perfect teachers yet. And therefore the world still seems like it's full of chaos and fear, because we have a misperception of who and what we really are. So when you accept yourself as God created you, that's the same as saying what? When you accept yourself as love created you, when you accept that you are not fear, you are not guilty, you are not sinful, you are not bad, you are not mortal, you are not a victim. When you accept that it's your thoughts and your consciousness and your awareness that's creating your experience and the way that you are experiencing your experience, and you use the interpretations of yourself that A Course in Miracles is teaching you, which is basically you are love, you are loving, and you are lovable. That's the truth about you. That's what the Course means when it says you have accepted Christ and you are saved. So when the Course in Miracles says you have accepted Christ, it's not talking about the way we are traditionally taught to think about that statement. Accepting Christ means that you have finally accepted your true identity as love, as God created you. So accepting Christ means you're accepting your true self. Accepting Christ means you're accepting your true self as you were created by your Creator. Accepting your true identity is accepting Christ. Accepting that you are love, that is what you are. That is the same as accepting Christ. You are the Christ. There is one Christ. That Christ is the one self we all share. You are saved when? You are saved when you recognize you're not what you made of you. You're not what your parents made of you. You're not what your childhood made of you. You're not what the world has made of you. You are as God created you. And God created you as spirit. God created you as love. God created you as life, as part of all that is. When you accept who you really are, that's when you're saved. Because being safe and being loved and being peaceful comes from accepting your divine self, not your human self. Your human self is an illusion, because it's always subject to change. So we're not talking about who you think you are now is probably not who you thought you were 10 years ago or 10 years before that. So your idea of yourself is constantly changing. Your self-concept is constantly changing. That human identity is constantly changing. But do you know that your real self never changes? Your real self is eternal. Your real self is eternal. Your real self is permanent. Your real self is only love. And nothing can change that. I don't care what a person thinks about themselves, how negatively they think about themselves, or how grandiose they think about themselves. It won't change yourself. Yourself is love. Yourself is truth. Yourself is free. Yourself is spirit. Yourself is immortal. Okay, that was one paragraph, by the way. That was one paragraph. Now notice as I went through that, I didn't analyze the Course at all. What I did was what my goal is as the divine repetition teacher is to repeat over and over again what it's saying. And also, I'm your remembering coach. In 42 years of teaching and studying A Course in Miracles, I've come to the conclusion, very obviously, from working with thousands of people, that it's much more important to remember what the Course is saying than to analyze what the Course is saying and trying to understand. There's nothing to understand, really. The truth is, all the world needs is one perfect teacher. And that's somebody who recognizes that they are a spiritual being and not a body. And when you know that you are more than a body, that's when you're going to be unlimited. You're going to be unlimited because your thoughts are joined with God's. That means your perception of yourself and the way that you see yourself is going to be based on what the truth teaches and not on what you learned and taught yourself from the world. That at that point you are really sharing God's will, which is for you to have perfect joy and happiness. And then because you have perfect joy and happiness because you remembered who you really are, then you can bring thoughts of love to quiet the deluded minds of all our brothers and sisters who are still asleep and think that they are still separate bodies and separate from each other. And since you are accepting yourself as God created you, then that's the same as you accepting the Christ. And therefore you are saved. You are saved because you have a correct perception of yourself. All right. I love A Course in Miracles. Are you with me? Are you with me? All right. Okay. I want to make sure I don't knock everything over. This has been going so good. I'm looking for my ego to try to screw it up some kind of way. All right, here we go. Okay. All right, if you're still following along with me and you're hearing this, please send me a few heart emojis to let me know that I'm talking to some people out there that's really focusing in and appreciating what I'm saying right now. Okay? Let me know that you're with me. That's why we're doing this live, so we can interact with each other. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Now let's go to paragraph 2 in the Manual for Teachers, section 12, paragraph 2. So, do you know that that's how the Son of Man becomes the Son of God? So, how does the child of man become the child of God? Well, do you know that becoming your true self, becoming recognizing yourself as the true child of love, the true child of God, it's not really a change. What you're really going through is not you changing. So what's changing? You are going, by studying A Course in Miracles or any true spiritual path, you are experiencing a change of mind. So there's only one type of change that you need to be happy. There's only one type of change that you need to remember who you really are. A change of your thinking, a change of mind. So when you really come to the realization of your true spiritual identity and come into that place of total love and connection and joining, nothing external really changes. So to come into the realization of who you really are, to come and get in touch with your power, to get in touch with your happiness and your safety, it has nothing to do with external changes. When you really become that powerful, beautiful, spectacular being that you are, everything internal is what changes. And what happens internally, everything inside of you is reflecting love. Everything inside of you is reflecting the love of God. Nothing external alters, but everything internal now reflects. Everything internal now reflects only God's love. So when you come into your true identity as the true self, the Christ, it's not really an external change, it's an internal change. Because all you have inside of you is love. And you tap into that real part of you that is nothing but unconditional love. So everything inside of you is reflecting God's love. So what happens when all you are aware of is your Creator's love. What happens when you are only feeling love inside you? What happens when you're only feeling the love that's coming from your Creator inside of you? God can no longer be feared. You don't have any fear of your Creator. God can no longer be feared when all you have inside of you is the awareness of God's love. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what your physical body looks like. Nothing external has to change in order for you to come into enlightenment and the recognition of the powerful, beautiful spirit, that eternal, immortal spirit that you've forgotten that you are. So when you no longer fear your Creator, then you don't see any cause for punishment. So if I don't believe I'm guilty and bad and sinful and that I deserve to be punished, then I would no longer be afraid of God. And therefore, I would no longer feel like I need to be afraid of something bad happening to me because I feel like I'm a bad person that needs some kind of punishment. Let that in. In order to become aware of your true identity as an unbelievably powerful child of God, it's not really changing you, because you are love and nothing will ever change that. You are spirit and nothing can ever change that. So nothing external alters, but everything on the inside reflects God's love. And since you're just feeling the love of God, then there's no longer a fear of God in you. And I'm not gonna rush through this, okay? I'm still gonna stop it within an hour, but this is too important because this section really is describing the whole journey that you go, your whole spiritual journey, actually. So, what is it telling us? Well, it's telling us that God's teachers appear to be many. It looks like there are a lot of teachers because the world needs a lot of teachers. But all the different teachers, do you know that since all the different teachers have one purpose and they have a purpose that they share with God, then how could the many teachers be separate from each other? You see, we are not separate from each other when we share the same purpose. To be one with someone means you are sharing the same purpose. Our physical bodies are going to always look like they're separate. So becoming one has nothing to do with bodies joining. Bodies never really join. Even if you were having the most intense physical sex that you've ever had in your life, you're never actually joining the other person. You know, you can always separate. So it's not physically separate. So that's not really joining. Physical joining isn't really joining. So at the level of the body, at the level of separation, how you join is through having one purpose, and the purpose that you share with God. So being one means you and I share the purpose of love. That means we share the same purpose. That's why we are one. So somebody that shares the same purpose, somebody that shares the same goal, then how could you really be separate and different from each other? If you have the same purpose and you have the same goal, then you are one. If you share God's purpose, and God's purpose is love and oneness. So therefore, what does it matter if we appear in many different forms? What does it matter if the teachers of God appear in many bodies? The teacher appears in many bodies. I'm teaching and I'm in a body. You're teaching and you're in a body. We're sharing the same purpose. That's why we're here right now doing this Course in Miracles. It's because we share the same purpose. So in us sharing the same purpose, don't you know that that means that we are one? But we want to share a purpose with God. And do you know that sharing a purpose with God means that we are sharing the purpose of love? That means we're sharing the purpose of union. It means we're sharing the purpose of seeing each other as beautiful and innocent and deserving. So if you have the same purpose, what does it say next? Their minds are one. So how can you tell when our joining is complete? How can you tell when your joining with someone is complete? It's complete when your minds are one. So how do you make your minds one? By doing what? Being joined in one purpose, and a purpose that you share with love. See how the Course in Miracles, see, I'm just going right through the page, right? And see how it's just explaining itself as it goes along. Notice I am not analyzing this. I'm repeating it and reminding you of what the Course says about what an enlightened being is like. So, what would be the next question? Well, the next question is, in the Manual for Teachers, Section 12, Paragraph 3, um, why is the illusion of many teachers necessary? Why do we need many teachers? Why is it, even though there's just one teacher, uh, why is it that there seems like there are many teachers? Why do we need the illusion of many teachers? Do you want to hear something really awesome? Wait till you hear this next paragraph. All right, here you go. Why is the illusion of many needed? He says, only because reality, which is the truth, is not understandable to the deluded. Who are the deluded? Who are the deluded? Those who are ruled by their ego. The deluded are those who have fearful, angry, guilty minds that think they are separate from everyone else. So a deluded person is a person who believes they are separate and different in reality from everything and everybody around them. In other words, a regular person. So when you try to tell the truth to a person who thinks that they are a body, when you try to tell a truth like this to people who just think they are just men and women or whatever pronouns or gender references they want to use for each other, but it's based on the idea of a body, then the Course says that is a deluded mind. That is a deluded person. So only very few can hear God's voice. There's only very few people who can hear this new truth at all. Haven't you noticed? And even those like us who really try to hear God's voice, even we can't communicate the messages that we get directly through the Spirit, which gave us the message. So people who think they're bodies, people who think they're regular people, people who believe that they're victims, people who are deluded, they need a medium through which communication becomes possible to those who don't realize that they are spirit. People who don't realize the truth, they need a body they can see. People who don't recognize the truth, they need a voice that they can understand, a voice that they can listen to. See, some people can hear the Course in Miracles and hear the truth through me in a way that they can't hear it through anybody else. And then there's some people who can't hear it through me at all, and they need to hear it through somebody else. So there are people who are going to be assigned to you that could only hear the truth as it comes through you. Because people who are asleep and think that they're separate and think that they're guilty or sinful or a body, these people need somebody they can listen to who's telling them the truth that doesn't make them feel afraid. Because the Course says people who think they're bodies, people who've forgotten who they, souls who have forgotten who they really are, when they hear the truth, it frightens them. That a person who believes they're a body and separate, when you tell them the truth about who they really are, then a lot of times it triggers resistance in them, and it makes them afraid. So who is it that the truth can come to? Who are the ones that the truth can come to? Well, the Course in Miracles says, well, the truth can come to those who welcome welcome it without being afraid of it. So if you want love to come to you, you have to welcome love without being afraid of love. So if you are afraid of love, which is the same as saying being afraid of the truth, then the truth can't come to you in a way that you can see it. If you are afraid of love, because the Course in Miracles teaches that when you are afraid of what you're asking for, then receiving it would not be what you wanted, because who really wants what they are afraid of? So when you have fear of something, then it prevents it from coming into your experience. So don't forget that the truth can only come where it's welcome without fear. So that's why you need a body. That's why as a teacher, I need a body. We need a body simply because our oneness, our unity can't be recognized directly, right? I mean, we don't directly see that we're just one being. So therefore, it looks like the teacher, the Holy Spirit, our guide, the real self, it has to reach us through what appears to be many different teachers and many different bodies, because that's what we think we are. So therefore, we have to be reached at the level that we can hear the truth without becoming afraid. But what is it that makes you a teacher of God? What is it that makes you a true teacher of love? Well, he says, yet what makes God's teachers is their recognition of the proper purpose of the body. So if I'm going to be a great teacher, then I've got to understand, what is the purpose of the body? 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 Well, as you advance in your profession, as you keep advancing in your learning of how to be a demonstrator and a teacher of love, as you advance in your profession, you become more and more certain that the body's function is but to let God, truth, speak through the body to human ears. So as I continue to awake on my spiritual path, what I recognize more and more is what the proper purpose of my body is, and the proper purpose of your body. The proper purpose of your body and the proper purpose of my body is to let love express itself through my body. Let truth express itself through my body to human ears. So that's what I'm doing right now, right? I'm using my body to let the Course in Miracles speak through my body to your ears. That's the purpose of my body. The purpose of my body is to use my body to let God speak through my body to people who have forgotten that they are more than a body. And when those people hear the truth coming through your body, then it's going to, their ears are going to allow what you said to go to their mind, because you're going to be saying messages to them like I'm sharing the Course to you. I'm giving you messages that are not of this world. This world doesn't tell you that you do not die. This world doesn't tell you that you are one with everything. This world does not tell you that you are a divine, spiritual, immortal being that creates through your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and belief, and that you're not a victim of anything, because everything is coming from your mind, and you're the one that's creating everything that you're perceiving. But your mind will understand, that person's mind will understand, because of the source of the message. God is the source of the message, so you will eventually understand. What I'm sharing with you from A Course in Miracles, don't you know, that's not coming from me. I didn't make up the Course in Miracles at this level of consciousness that I'm on, but I am letting my body be used by the Holy Spirit, by Jesus of the Course, in order to bring a message to you, to remind you of who you really are, that you've forgotten. And from this understanding will come the recognition in this new teacher of God, because once I give this truth to you and you accept it, then you are a new teacher of God. Then you become a new demonstrator of love when you accept what you've just heard. And because of this, you will have the recognition of what your body's purpose really is. What is really the only use for the body? According to the Course, what is the only use of the body? The only use of the body is for the body to be used by love to be expressed through. The body is here for communication. The body is here for you to allow the truth and love to come through your body and to speak the words of truth and love. That's the real purpose of the body. And so this lesson that I'm giving you, what is it good for? Well, it's a lesson that lets the thought of oneness, the thought of unity come in. Everything I've been talking about has been letting the thought of unity come in. So you got to appear to be separate. He says it right here. The teachers of God appear to share the illusion of separation. Okay, it looks like I'm separate from you. It looks like I'm different from you. It looks like I'm separate from you. It looks like I'm different from you. But because of what I'm using my body for, I'm using my body to say loving things to you. I'm using my body to remind you of your divinity. I'm using my body to remind you of how innocent and how wonderful you are. And because of what I'm using my body for, I don't believe in the separation. I don't believe that we are separate in my true self, despite appearances. So God's voice. All right. So what is the central lesson? The central lesson. What is the central lesson? What is the main lesson? The main lesson is what you use the body for, that's what the body is going to become to you. And that means that if you use your body for attack, if you use your body for anger, if you use your body for guilt, if you use your body to hurt someone, that's the same, which is the same as sin. Using your body to hurt yourself or to hurt others or to attack, then you're going to see your body as weak and you're going to see your body as bad. If you use your body for things that you feel guilty about, then you're going to see your body as something that's not really innocent. And so because you see your body as less than innocent, which the Course calls sinful, then the body becomes weak, and being weak, it suffers and it dies. So the body suffers and dies because of the uses that a person puts the body to. Whatever you're using your body for, that's what your body's going to become. If you use your body for fear and separation and attack, then your body becomes weak and it suffers and it dies. But if you use your body to bring the truth, if you use your body to bring loving words, if you use your body to bring the word of God to those people who don't have it, then your body becomes holy. Your body becomes healed. The more you let your body be used for the truth, the more you let your body be used for unity and oneness, it becomes holy. Holy means that I'm using my body for, a holy body is a body that's being used for love. And because it's holy, the body can't be sick and the body can't die. So a body really being used purely for love, from a place of love and truth, is a body that can't be sick and a body that can't die. But what does that mean? Well, it just means when the usefulness of the body is over, we lay it down. So death just becomes, I no longer need to be here to share the truth anymore. It's time for me to go home, back to reality. And so I'm going to lay my body down. Now, the mind makes a decision when it's going to lay the body down, because the mind makes all the decisions that are responsible for the condition of your body. Your mind makes all decisions that are responsible for the conditions of your body. But as a conscious being, do you know that as a conscious being, though, when you are a conscious being, then you don't make the decision as to when to lay your body down by yourself. You don't just get up one day and say, okay, I've decided this is the day I'm going to lay my body down. No conscious being makes that decision by themselves. If you are the one that determines when you lay your body down, then you're giving your body another purpose from the purpose that keeps it holy and safe. So what are you saying, Earl? I'm saying that the Course in Miracles is saying God's voice. Your Creator's voice will tell you when you fulfill your role. Your Creator's voice, it's telling you what your function is, and your function is to allow the truth and love in God to speak through your body and to be expressed through your body to people who've forgotten who they really are. And so that means when you're really listening to God and the truth, and you're letting that be in charge of your body and your life, then you don't suffer. You don't suffer in going, and you don't suffer in remaining. You don't die through suffering, and you're not going to be suffering while you're here, because sickness will become impossible. So sickness is any form of lack of peace. How does that become impossible? How does it become impossible to be sick when you're using your body for what your body was intended to be used for, which is to let your body You use your body to let love and God and truth come through your body to reach people who've forgotten that they are more than bodies. Oneness and sickness can't coexist. You cannot know your oneness and be unhappy and sick and afraid. So, if you're a true teacher of God, do you know that if you are a true teacher of love, then you are choosing to look on what the Course calls dreams. The Course calls this a dream, that we are living in a dream. I know that's hard to believe, and I said that I was going to say some things hard to believe, but the Course in Miracles says this is not reality. You are not in reality. You are in a waking dream, and it's a conscious choice for you to be here. When you wake up to who you really are as a teacher of God, do you know that what makes you a true teacher of God is that you have learned something very important? And what is it that you've learned? You've learned that all your choices are made consciously. When you become an awakened being, then you consciously make all choices. You no longer make choices from an unconscious place. You make all your choices from a conscious place. So, what does it look like when you are making a choice from a conscious place? When you're making a choice from a conscious place, you have a full awareness of the consequences of your choice. So, a conscious being is someone that knows what the consequences are going to be of the choices that they make. I say it again. When you one day become a true teacher of God and you truly become a conscious being, you will be completely aware that you are the one that's making all the decisions and all the choices about what you are experiencing, and you will also be aware of the consequences. Now, do you know this world, this dream, this world says otherwise, that you're not a being that's creating your reality, that you are a victim of things that are happening to you. But who would put their faith in dreams? The ones you recognize a dream for being a dream, would you put your faith in a dream that you knew was a dream? See, the ones you know the truth about something and you recognize the truth about something, you can't be fooled anymore. So, what is your real function as a demonstrator of God? What is the real function of a teacher of God? The real function of a teacher of love is to be aware of the fact that you're dreaming. Be aware, the awareness of dreaming is to stay aware that you are the one that's making the way that you are seeing things at all times. Perception and dreams are the same thing. So when you become a true teacher of God, when you become an awakened being, how will you be looking at things in this world, in this dream? How would you be looking at things when you really master the truth? Well, I'll tell you, it says it right here. You're going to watch dream figures come and go. You're going to watch the figures around you, the people around you, the bodies around you come and go, shift and change, suffer and die. That's exactly what we see when we look at the news and talk to a lot of people about things that they are going through around the world. We are seeing figures come and go. We're seeing figures shift and change. And we're also seeing bodies and people appear to suffer and die. But when you are awake, when you really recognize who you really are, then you are never deceived by what you're looking at. So what does that mean? To say that you're looking at the world and you're no longer deceived when you are enlightened. That means that when you wake up to your true spiritual identity, then you'll recognize that to behold a dream figure, which is a body, as sick and separate is actually no more real than to regard a body or a dream figure as healthy and beautiful. You know, a healthy Bugs Bunny in a Bugs Bunny cartoon is no more real than a sick Bugs Bunny in a Bugs Bunny cartoon. So if you're dealing with something that's not ultimately real, then whether it seems to be sick or well, you're still aware that that is not what that person ultimately is. The only thing that's real, what is the only thing that's real in this dream, in this perception, in this world that we're in? What is the only thing that's real? Unity. Unity alone is not a thing of this physical world. And it is unity that, as an enlightened being, do you know, as an enlightened being, it's oneness. It is this that you would start acknowledging as behind this whole dream, as behind this whole perception of the world. It's, you will be aware that oneness is something that's beyond everything that seems to be, and you will know that oneness is surely yours. Okay, I was able to get through the whole thing. That's the whole journey of A Course in Miracles. If you were to master and remember what this one section, how many teachers, what is it? How many teachers of God are needed to save the world? This section covered everything from A to Z, especially as far as telling you how you're going to see yourself, what the function of your body is, what the purpose of it all is, how to see it, how you're going to see things when you really do wake up and recognize who you are. You were also told exactly what to use your body for so that your body won't be sick and that you will not suffer. You have also been told that if you are a conscious being, you will see all the changes that are going on in the world and all the separation, but you won't be fooled by it because you know that behind everything is love and that oneness that we all share. So I'm so glad that you allowed me to go through this with you. I'm Earl Purdy. I'm a full-time teacher. I would love it if you would make a financial expression of appreciation. That would be great. All you have to do is go to my website, www.earlpurdy.com, earlpurdy.com. You can make a donation there, or you can use Venmo or the Cash App or PayPal or Zelle. All you need is my email address, which is earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com, Purdy, earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. Also, I'm available for one-on-one coaching, mentoring, counseling sessions called clarity sessions, where I can take my 40 plus years of working with people and bring it to whatever your issue is that you need to have healed or seen in another way, especially using the teachings of the Course in Miracles to deal with that situation. I call them clarity sessions. Go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and you can get more information about my sessions, and you can self-book an appointment with me right online, right from my website. I'm also an astrologer and a numerologist. It was what eventually led me to the Course in Miracles and got me on my spiritual path. There is a divine plan in detail, in form for your life. If you're open to using those services that I provide, then you can also book an appointment with me. I'm just here to be truly helpful. On Sundays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, I do another Facebook Live on A Course in Miracles on the Earl Purdy page on Facebook. Um, would love to have you show up in person. If you're in the Denver, Colorado area, you can come to the class in person, even though it's going to be online also. And it's at 1555 Race Street. 1555 Race Street. All right, here in Denver, Colorado, 80206. And then on Thursdays, Hardcore Course in Miracles with my Course in Miracles family. We do this on Thursdays for people who really want to go deeper, who are into the book, who are studying it, even though everybody's welcome. That's Thursdays, 7 p.m. Mountain Time on the Earl Purdy page on Facebook. I put all of my classes also on YouTube. And so therefore you can also watch my classes on YouTube, and I've got all the workbook lessons I've done on YouTube. And you just Google the lesson, like lesson 50, and then Earl Purdy. And then it'll bring up that particular lesson. Please share these videos. Know that you've got to repeat it over and over and over again to really change your mind. And that I love you. That I want my body to be used to remind you of your beauty and your power and who you really are. And that you are going to be a holy, perfect teacher. You're gonna use your body only for the purposes of love and the purposes of truth. Mighty companion, I'm going to listen to this again. Make sure you watch this and listen to this at least 4 times. Let yourself hear it. Let yourself hear it, because you are as love created you. You are as God created you. Mighty companion, this is Earl Purdy. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much for being my mighty companion. May the course be with you. Love you so much.